As I said, 68,000 pensioners recently got correspondence from the Revenue Commissioners in relation to the tax they paid or tax they were liable to pay back in 2022. They're likely to get further letters in the future relating to 2023 and 2024. Now, that can be quite a shock to the system for somebody who's been out, particularly for people who've been out in the workplace for quite some time, elderly people. Who didn't make any mistakes themselves, but are now being penalised for the mistakes of others if they're found to have been in arrears. Now, in some cases, it may turn out that the Revenue Commissioners will actually owe them money, but I suspect that those cases will be few and far between. Now, just in relation to pensioners, people aged 66 or over, it's important to point out that the old age pension itself is not directly taxable, but it is indirectly taxable. The position is if you're a single person over the age of 65, you can have up to 18,000 per annum from all sources and still not be liable for tax. If you're a married person and one party is over the age of 65, then the limit is 36,000. If you go above 36,000, you're in the taxman's crosshairs. You're in the tax net. When I say pension is indirectly taxable, it means that the credits due to you to reduce your tax is reduced. That those credits are reduced by the amount of the pension, so you're indirectly paying tax. Now, the total pension at the moment for a married couple, including the Christmas bonus, is about 15,337, I think. Back in 2022, the sum was about 13,424. But as I say, the people who are affected by this, pensioners who are affected by this, are in receipt of income in addition to the old age pension. Now, a lot of those incomes aren't very big. I mean, ask any ex-CIE worker or any ex-local authority worker. Some of those so-called occupational pensions are quite paltry. So, the taxpayer may have difficulty if they're in any kind of arrears at all. They may have difficulty. Now, the Revenue Commissioners said that they won't be demanding payments straight away, which is fair enough, and that they will give up to 4 years for people to pay. That doesn't mean that you can hang on for 4 years and pay in 4 years' time or pay by whatever instalments you wish. The Revenue will recalculate your credits and take that. Let's assume the sum is 2,000 in arrears. They'll take that off you over a 4-year period by reducing your tax credits, which means that 4 years, 2,000, it's about €10 per week. You will be €10 per week worse off. Now, €10 per week will probably represent the forthcoming increase in the budget in the old age pension, or most of it at least. So that will be hard to endure, and it'll be recurring for the next 4 years. What will make the problem really, really difficult is if you're found to be in arrears again in 2023, again through no fault of your own, or in 2024, you'll be losing more per week, which seems to be a very surreal situation, particularly for people who've worked all their lives in the country, built up this country, made no mistakes, and now find that they're the victims of somebody else's mistake. However, one of the things, my advice to people who get those letters is don't ignore them. The best thing to do is to engage. And now people will tell you that you can engage with Revenue online, etc. Most people in their 60s and 70s are not familiar with online. So there's an alternative way to engage with Revenue, and that's by filling a simple tax form. It's called, for a PAYE taxpayer, it's called a Form 12. And you can print it. You can have it printed down, or I can, or any your local representatives, I'm sure, can supply you with this type of form. It's a Form 12, and you'll be filling in your income for 2022. Now, what I would say to people who, when the Revenue Commissioners come back and say you're in arrears, you owe so much, and we propose to collect it, I use the advice that the Welsh poet Dylan Thomas gave. Don't go gentle into that good night. Resist. I mean, there's various things you can check out. For example, there's a thing called, which I won't go into now, called marginal relief, which means that people slightly in excess of the 36,000 per annum or 18,000 per annum don't have to pay the full calculated tax. Just check that that's been applied to you. Check that you're getting your proper allowances, such as maybe mortgage interest relief or allowance for payment of rent if you're still renting. Make sure you get your age credit, which is, for a married person, was now and I think was then €490 a single person, €245. That comes directly off your calculated income tax bill. There's allowances such as dependent relative allowance, widow's allowance if your partner dies, widow's allowance in the year of bereavement, etc. Blind person's allowance. There's a number of allowances and tax credits there which people can claim, whether they're over some of whom can be some of which can only be claimed if you're over 66, but some of which can be also claimed if you're under 66. If you want to check that out. As I've said, the real difficulty here is that the fault was not with the people who are now being chased by revenue. The fault was with somebody else in the overwhelming majority of cases. And it does seem very unfair that people should be pursued in this way. What I would recommend to the government, quite frankly, is if you owe somebody tax, pay them back. But don't go chasing people, in their 70s, in the winter of their lives, for money, which for a tax bill which they didn't incur through any fault of their own. Or if you feel you must do that, if there's some compelling reason to do it, despite the huge budget surplus we have this year, then don't be so inflexible. I mean, say 2,000, and some of the bills could be well in excess of 2,000, and with more coming, perhaps for the following 2 years. Don't confine yourself to 4 years. I mean, those people are struggling already. They're struggling from week to week, and they deserve, as I say, a bit of consideration in view of the fact that the mistake wasn't theirs. So, my advice to you is, fill out the form anyway, engage. Feel free to go to some advisory association like Age Action, which is a very good association, your local information centre, your local community information centre, they're spread throughout the country, or your local TD, or anybody who can deal with a tax situation. I mean, I'm always open to talk to people, particularly in this area, because the vast majority of those people who will be getting those letters, which will involve arrears, can't afford to go and pay an accountant. They're simply paying on the double. So feel free to get advice like that. And I'm appealing to the Revenue Commissioners now to treat these cases flexibly and extend the 4-year period where where genuine hardship is going to occur, because the arrears have to be paid back so quickly. But the main thing is, don't despair, don't panic. Long ways to go yet, and we can certainly put forward a case for you and check that all your allowances and credits that you're entitled to, that you will get before you get your final tax liability.